All right, good afternoon. Welcome back here to Trader Minute. Great to have you aboard. Interesting market today. Pretty flat. Pretty just kind of nondescript in a lot of ways. But some of the things we're seeing are what we saw Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of this week. Not so much what we saw yesterday this week. Let's get down to it. Let's start with Disney. Disney would be the only new signal on the board here today for the challenge. It has a fresh bull signal here today. Why? Well, because Disney did something that we don't see very often, but we make the trades at the 2:30 Eastern time period, and that's when the trade signals are logged when they're official. And sometimes when you get into the close of the market, right, something else will change. And what we saw yesterday was Disney sell off into the close, and it just sold off about $1, into the close, and that sell off was deep enough to make it so the 3 and the 7 didn't have an upside crossover. Okay. Now today Disney's up 38 cents and now it has a fresh 3-7 crossover here on it. The way the challenge handles these, and we've seen this before this challenge, is that it's not a secondary signal for the challenge. We don't adjust anything off the original date. But if we weren't in Disney and it hadn't quite signaled yesterday, it would be something I'd be getting into today here on the new signal. So this is the only one. We do have a 3-7 crossover going on with Netflix here today, and it's a fairly bullish crossover. And this has been a very interesting base that Netflix is building here. And ultimately, what I consider to be a very bullish base, but coming off of new lows, just high consolidation risk still for the challenge, and we saw that right here on the 3-7 crossover to the upside. We had a 3-7 upside crossover right here, so it's had several 3-7 upside crossovers since this big drop, but all of them just have too high of consolidation risk on them for a challenge trade. What tends to happen is as we see this, you tend to start to see the consolidation risk component come down, and that's what we are seeing. So it's not an ultra high consolidation risk. This is something where we actually have some positive divergence in some of the momentum oscillators and things like that. In fact, if we come in and we put something like the MACD here on it, you kind of see how the MACD itself was down here at about -12. It's now at about -7. And during this time, the stock is actually lower. So, we do see some minor divergences here. Nothing too earth-shattering, for it. But this is a stock I still expect to push back to the 200-day moving average and, ultimately to new highs. But there are definitely some headwinds out there for Netflix right now, but no signal here on it. We do have some downside 3-7 crossover action, some things like Coca-Cola with a downside 3-7 move after yesterday's upside 3-7 move. Yesterday didn't signal. Today it's not signaling. We have Altria has similar action here to it. I thought for sure we'd get an Altria signal, but it did not signal. And this is one that's had a lot of crossovers here over the course of this challenge, but just has not signaled. And it's one that I've been watching the options on, and I'm not going to include the stock in the next challenge, just simply for the fact the options have become a little less tradable, and we're just not seeing any real frequency of signals the way we used to here for Altria. So one that I'll be moving on here from with the challenge, but nice little downside 3-7 action there, here for it. But again, no signal there with it. So the challenge will hold Disney going into the close here today, and in the cash that it has, and Disney up here up about 50 cents here. We have seen a small implied volatility tick down here on Disney. I believe it's lost about 2 implied volatility points there, which when a stock isn't going our direction. Always looks a little bit big, but we see the VIX. It just continues to bleed on lower here. We're down to a point where, yeah, it can get lower, but we're not going to see big gashes in the VIX. Here where we're seeing, it dropped 2 points a day or something of that nature. Okay. Now, I had a few Disney questions come in, and I addressed most of them in the past, so I'll just address the one here. And it asked about entry times and why not, after a signal, why not delay the entry time, an hour or so to see what happens with the stock and maybe enter it closer to the close, which is, good insight. And it is something that when we first put the algorithm together and really started working with it and looking at different things, was the route I wanted to go. I wanted to go with, hey, you know what? Let's just see what the signals are at, 15 minutes before the close. We'll make the trades 15 minutes before the close and 15 minutes after the open. That was my original intent and what I looked at. But one of the things we found, doing the numbers and just going through the whole process over the last couple of years is that we actually had better entry points from an option standpoint at the time that we chose. It was also an easier time for most people, rather than right into the close where, sometimes fill prices can be a little bit difficult. So we decided to run with the time we did based on the numbers, right? Simply based on the numbers. And so, yeah, could we wait? Sure. But we've had trades where we've entered at 12:30 and the stock is, pushed up higher into the close with a nice gain into the close. Others where it sells off into the close and, it starts off with a small loss. We've had it both directions, this challenge, and we'll have many more with both directions on it. But it's one where, if you want to follow along and want to wait that additional hour or whatnot, I have no issue, no qualms with that. Go for it. It is something, though, that we have seen the data, and the data does suggest that the 12:30 Mountain or 2:30 Eastern time period has overall been better from an option standpoint. All right. Now, a couple weeks back, I suggested that you'd see a little bit of a different site skin here for the Trader Minute website and a little bit of a different direction change. So I wanted to jump on here, talk about, show you the new site skin, kind of how it's developing. It's still needs a lot of work and everything else, but it will be launched with the challenge next week. So really looking forward to that. But the new site skin, new direction, we're not talking about anything massive or major. But there is something I do want to show and emphasize here, and hopefully it answers a few of the questions that have come in. No, I'm not going back to running a challenge. Hey, Jeff, what do you like about this stock? Are you going to get in? Hey, Jeff, look at what UPS is doing. What do you think? Do you think stocks can go up? Do you think it's going to go down? Blah. I'm not going back to it. That is something that, was fun. It was fun while it lasted, but I am still human, and to do that, consistently each and every day, there's an exhaustion level here with that. Also, it's one where, controlling risk reward and all of that, it just not very realistic. I'm also not going back to trading a challenge based on, what I like and what I see and how I've done challenges in the past. I'm not going back to it. It is something that I am still doing personally and trading myself, and I do have an account with that format that I'm enjoying and having a lot of fun with. But as far as the 100K challenge here at Trader Minute, it will continue to be algorithm driven and very metric and data driven in both how it's presented and how it is shown as we go forward. The new site skin is going to look something like this right here. and there's some things missing on it and everything else, but it's going to have this kind of look and feel, and it's going to have this current challenge progress bar. That will show how the current challenge is doing. Now, this one isn't hooked up to the current challenge. The current challenge, we're right back here. But it'll show how the current challenge is doing. And the progress bar will be based on the 5 doubles concept, right? Because when we go from 3,000 to 6,000, that's not a 3%, 3% progress. That's really 20% progress. So it is what's the right word? It's been keyed to essentially track the progress based on the amount of doubles and what the current challenge value is there with it. So that'll be there, and that will be something that'll be on the front page at all times, and will automatically update whenever a trade is exited. It will not update on a minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day basis. Just when trades are exited, then it will be updated. And then there'll be other site stuff that's kind of coming into it, talking about how it works and everything else there. But there's also going to be a section on how do we handle how we handle various scenarios, because now that the challenge is algorithm driven, right? We know how different scenarios are going to be handled. And so we have a lot of that in here. And these are some of the very common questions that we've had with running challenges. And we have some of the responses here. There's more to come. We'll also have our story, in here, the evolution of the 100K challenge, how things evolved and everything else, which is something that we've never had before. You've heard me talk about it over the years, but, something we've never had in here. And again, it needs formatted and a lot of other things and whatnot. But this is what it's going to, kind of look like here when you come in and you log in. I'll still have the same login and everything else. But when we talk about direction, when it comes to challenges, right? And this challenge I've posted after 30 days. I've posted a 30-day summation, a 60-day summation, where we look at how the challenge is doing. What's some of the data? How are the percentages playing on out to what we expect to play on out? And this is a start. This is a beginning piece to the bigger piece that you'll see on the site as we go forward, where you'll be able to look and say, okay, you know what? I have 3 years worth of challenge data here. Every signal, this is what to expect. Every trade, this is what it's tended to be. You'll be able to go through and see all of that data here for the various challenge trades, the number of trades made during a certain challenge, how many gained, how many lost, all of that kind of stuff you'll be able to pull. And we're making, with it now running with the algorithm, the site data will be very metric driven and very looking at larger sample sizes, so that as we go forward, everyone has a chance to decide, okay, you know what, this is what it is, this is what I can expect. Yep, some challenges went to 0, this one went to 110, this one went to 20, this one went to 5, and see, okay, you know what, how did it respond to different market conditions or different just different ways of beginning and different ways of ending. And is this something that's based on one big trade making a ton, or a whole bunch of little ones, and all of that? And you'll be able to see how the different scenarios play on out. I'm not going to release the last 3 years worth of data, simply because I've given some of the highlights of the data, but it's not stuff that was live traded, with the community. And it is stuff where we did different things and tweaked different things and made different changes, here to it. But when it comes to the site and the challenge that we live run, all of that data will be here. and all of that data will be aggregated as we go forward here, with challenges for the years to come, and that is the expectation and the plan. Ultimately, the 100K challenge, I love it. I'm a big proponent of it, a big believer in it, and I like the process that it is going. But ultimately, I would like to bring in some other challenges, meaning some different challenge designs. We had Sunny's VXX challenge. We've had a little bit of earnings challenge in the past, some other different things, and we do have some things working behind the scenes to bring some of that on. But no date for if and when that's going to happen. A lot of that is still in the early stages of testing, making sure the data is solid. And it's not just, trusting somebody that, hey, you know what, they had a good run, let's see what happens. But, hey, you know what, we have a good solid couple years worth of data behind things, or at least, a year's worth of data behind things to be able to go out and to do that. As I know, our community, yes, here for the challenge, but also would like a little bit more. And ultimately, we will add a little bit more onto it. What you'll notice on the site, there's nothing about education and training and all of that. In fact, down here there will be something that says new to trading, and it will basically be a link to the Trader Minute Academy, where we have many 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 hours of learning and videos that have been done over the years that you can access, that you can go to for training. I'll continue to talk about some real-time situations when it comes to the 100K challenge, and when I'm on video I'll naturally kind of just show different things, but you won't hear me go, well, this is an option. You have calls and you have puts and all of that, right? I've probably said those things more times than I ever want to, and it's all there and ready to go. So that is going to be separated out there a little bit. But you will see the market vibe number be brought back into Trader Minute. It is being automated so that on the trade seat page that you're probably seeing this video from right now, it'll have the market vibe logged each and every day, and so you can access that from the Academy, or you can access it directly from Trader Minute. But just wanted to show that you will see this. If you log in one day and it does look a little bit different, don't worry, you're at the right site. This is going to be the general look, but again, a lot more to go. This is a quick mock-up that Jason sent me just so I could use here today for what is coming and what is happening. Okay, alrighty. Last question. I know it's a little bit silly, but was asked, what's the market typically like on Friday the 13th and a full moon? If you go to any site out there, today is the dreaded Friday the 13th and dreaded full moon, and we have this funky combo. And the bottom line is, I didn't even go look. I didn't go look to see what the data was, because the last time this happened was 19 years ago, and the next time it's going to happen is 30 years from now. So, any statistical relevance? No. Any superstitions? Well, absolutely. But I'll leave any superstitions to each and every individual there. But always interesting when stuff like that happens, and it does drive some speculation. But Carl and I, those of you who remember Carl, Carl and I always had a saying: if it's Friday and it's October, you want to own puts. And that's about as superstitious as I'll get with the market. And hey, we're getting into October here in about a month, so we'll see how that plays on out. Again, thanks for hopping on. Thanks for being with us here at Trader Minute. Have yourselves a fantastic weekend, and we'll talk to you Monday. Take care.